Hi guys.
Hi.
Happy post Eclipse.
Yeah, and
Oh.
to you.
Yeah. It was oh,
Wow,
nice.
that's an interesting sound.
It's my bell. Happy post eclipse, you guys. Yay.
So the topic of the day, I guess we sort of started having this conversation a few weeks ago, or maybe it's been longer now. I was getting a lot of downloads during my editing with Sean's video with the Yahyel, and I think Gita was sending me stuff, and then I was like, hey, we got to reach out to Wieteke, we got to talk. There's like some Yahyel stuff going on that we got to talk about. and then everybody's schedules and everything's going on, and I took a trip to Japan, and then this eclipse sort of showed up, and we were like, hey, it's getting time to have this conversation. Maybe we can talk about the eclipse and what's going on there too. But where do you guys want to start? How about a little introduction for the people who might be watching this? So I'm Reuben, and I have a series interview with Ed, and I interview channelers like you guys who bring through these cosmic energies, and I get to talk to those cosmic energies and ask them all kinds of cool questions. And I love what I'm doing, and I love being part of this. And thank you for both of you. Wieteke, who I've already interviewed, you both personally, and Arjun. And Gita, we don't know when, but in the near future we were gonna, have Bella on and talk with yourself and your journey and Bella. But that's me. How about you guys?
Gita, go ahead. Your image is frozen, so I can't see if you're about to say something.
My name is Gita Rose, and I am a vocal channel for a being called Bella, and she is a Yahyel being. And this is new for me. I just recently decided to share. It's been an 8-year journey and process and grounding and connecting and playing. And yeah, I just recently put myself out, and then the mirrors came right back instantly. So hi, and I'm so excited to see where this journey goes and how we all get to continue to collaborate together, the three of us, or just everyone watching. I'm kind of like, I feel like the new kid on campus, and it's just really fun to connect with some of the upperclassmen. It's kind of how I honestly see it, to see my friends here in this reality. So super fun. Happy Sunday.
Thank you. And well, like Ruben already said, we have been speaking. I've been channeling Arjun of the Yahyel for a while now, and he's never alone, but he's my hub, I would say. And I spoke to Gita. I met her how long ago? 3 weeks or so. We had a really long Skype call, and it was super fun. She reached out to me, and I'm so super happy to see that more and more people are opening up and stepping forward so boldly as she does. So welcome, Gita, and so happy that you're here.
Excellent. So since the topic's sort of fresh, before we get into our Yahyel information and channelings, does anybody want to share what they received during this past eclipse, or lunar eclipse, I should say, which apparently was the longest one of the century?
Yeah, I heard that too. Gita, you start, because I had a response from Arjun on something that Gita shared with Ruben and me earlier. So Gita, if you share your Bella
Okay,
download.
yeah, I'll start. So a little bit of expository information, getting into a little bit of the Yahyel, what Bella's been bringing through. This was a couple of days, or she originally brought the information through weeks ago, but calling her realm, the Yahyel realm, for now, a door open. And that had been coming through, and it just felt really fun, and people had kind of had a nice response to it as well. And then I was shared a new crop circle that came up, I think, on Monday morning. It was discovered in Wiltshire, England. I believe that's correct. And it's a door just slightly opening. It was shared with me by Ashley Epstein from CE5, South Africa. And that, honestly, it put me in this state of just complete receptivity. It kind of freaked me out. I'll just be that bold. I was like, oh, that's synchronicity. Okay, sure, just keep going. And so I actually was in Tahoe visiting a friend of mine Thursday night. Friday, I was driving home, and I knew that I wanted to be home by a certain point. I could feel it starting to align, and I had a feeling like this, I'm going to have an out-of-body experience. Like, this is going to take me. I felt like a journey coming. And I was right. I got home and was able to get myself organized and lie down and started receiving downloads about the differentiation of higher self and then these differentiated beings that may be sharing parts of the same oversoul, but they're having their own incarnation. And because a lot of the times the beings, Bella will say, maybe Arjun says, Bashar says, well, no, that wasn't necessarily contact with me, that was your higher self. And in most cases, like, that's probably the more beneficial way for someone to think about whatever channeling or whatever contact they're having. But as we continue to more so further integrate and further really understand our connection with our higher selves and our blueprint, there may start to be more experiences that are very obviously differentiated contact with aspects of our oversoul group. I don't know if I feel like I'm translating this correctly. It was very, very intense. And I was shown, Bella came in a way visually where I could see her in a way that I had really never seen before, and I'm going to paint and bring out more images. Saibo, who's also a character from the Sasani race that Bashar has brought through before, through Daralenka, he came in, and he's connected to my oversoul experience as well, and then being able to see my higher self, which I'm starting to identify as being aspects of us that are maybe just a little bit more so in the future, or like it's in a template reality that's really what we're bringing in. We're really bringing in our 5D, 4D, however we want to define it. And so I was getting this full download and full understanding of, like, here is me now in my bed. Then here's the higher self that knows where it's all going. Here's this character that, like, sometimes is your higher self, sometimes we get confused. And all of these different storylines came in. And you, I feel like Dorothy, I was like, and you were there, and you were there. Like, we were all of these different versions of us were interacting, and different versions of Daralenka and Willa and Bashar and all of these rotating characters that were stepping forward and explaining more in-depth ways of really looking at oversoul connections and higher self, and then the self, and all of the ways that we can further begin to really know and understand these concepts. That was my journey. It was fun. Yeah.
So is this the dream where you first got the download of the word Adorapan?
No, the Adorapan, I forget what it was in one channeling. It just came through. Yeah. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. Pardon me. Sometimes I talk to myself. Just like I let it through, and that's how it came through, because I think I was curious. I asked her, I was like, give me a name, I want to know, like, what we're playing with. And she said Adorapan. And I was like, a door open, Adorapan. Yeah. And I think I was just talking to myself.
Okay, I like that. Because we allow ourselves to actually think out loud, like you did in that moment. This is what I believe. If you allow yourself to play with translations in that way, when you allow it to flow just through you, and you just, like in that moment of talking to yourself, that word, falls out of your mouth, it has a power to it. You will recognize if it has a power to it that is really relevant, right? So I'm just guessing you felt it click, right? And you knew like Bella's there and this is connected. So let me get this right, just because in order to share the part that I got, I need to have your part really strongly in focus. Also for people who are new to this story. And I'm kind of gonna have to guess how you respond, because again, your image is frozen on my end. So give me some feedback.
Okay, sure.
So just to get this really clear, you got that word, you said it out loud, and you knew this is a symbol right now, or word right now that we can use, or is suggested to us we can use or play with as
yes,
kind of a definition for where the Yahyel are at, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you told me that, you told Reuben that, and this is how I understood it. And I'm like, wow, I love the sound, the ring of that word. It really, really arrived really good at me. So I'm like, nice, really nice. And I didn't necessarily think a lot more about it. And I'm very often, this is the way it works for me, I get the downloads in the morning when I'm, when you don't think anything yet. So you go from the dream state into the day and you're in this in-between state. You're certainly not thinking about the next day yet or any particular subject. And this is when Arjun likes to barge in and go drop something in front of me. And he showed me Adorapan spelled out. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then below it, he likes this. He's like, he understands that you're toying with language, that we all are, that we, they love our idea of puns. Bashar has also explained that, because it's not present so much in their society due to telepathy. There is no misinterpretation, so you can't really twist a word the way we can. So he dropped Adorapan, and I'm like, okay, so what's about Adorapan? And then he spelled right below it Pandora.
Yeah.
From Pandora's box.
Oh!
And he says, go play with these two. So I'm immediately completely awake, and I walked into the living room, I grabbed a piece of paper, I wrote them below each other, and if you cross all the letters from each one of them, all of them fit in each word except for one. I'm looking at it right now. Adorapan has one more A left. So I'm looking at this extra A, and I'm looking at Arjun so yeah. All the letters agree except there's one A left, and he says that's step one. That's A in the alphabet.
Whoa, ooh, chills.
And Pandora's box is opening. So in order to get to them, which is an in-between layer, we have to open up Pandora's box and be willing to see everything about ourselves so that we can raise to the frequency that they're already on. So he's like, if you're playing with this word, with this idea, I can add that to it, and you will know this is your step A.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I really feel that is also happening right now, that with the splitting of the train tracks and everything intensifying, which is really something I'm with kind of surprise and astonishment still looking at also in my own surrounding, wow, this is really happening. That's the Pandora's box thing, to not be thrown off by that, to remain on your course, to be okay with that happening is really the door open to the in-between state or the higher frequency level that the Yahyel are focused on. Is what I understand right now. So I'm open for any feedback. And
well, that leads right into my journey, my download on the eclipse. I did a little meditation during that time. And Well, one, just to go about Pandora. So I worked on Avatar, the biggest movie ever made, and the setting of that movie, is on Pandora. So that's kind of cool there too.
Really? What you mean as a channel or?
No, the name of the planet in James Cameron's movie, where all the Na'vi live, that name of the planet is Pandora.
I forgot that. I didn't even know that. Like, wow. Okay, so
Is it Pandorica?
No, it's just Pandora.
It's
Wow.
just Pandora.
wow,
Pandora,
I did not know that.
Ooh.
Okay, so continue, please.
So one little synchronicity coincidence, and then so the download I got was more of a collective concept idea. I really got strong that we are now, like, this eclipse signifies a Trinity consciousness, that we'd been slowly moving into this idea of the Trinity, and moving out of duality. And and I've been getting downloads and trying to understand that. But what I got really strong this eclipse was now we're in it. Now we are officially in Trinity consciousness, and part of that leading up to this is things that I've been playing with, is like 1 + 1 = 3. And to explain that would be, so if you take A plus B, you get AB, right? So in reality, there's actually 3 numbers there. So if A is 1, B is 1, and AB is 2, it's actually not 2, because if you have a triangle, if you have 1, 2, 3, you're looking at the 3, the combination of the 2, and as well as the result. So like right now, there's me, there's Wieteke, there's Gita, but then together there's the 3 of us, which makes, an actual 4th, and then even more, when you start adding more numbers into it, it sort of exponentially grows. And this is, we have exponential rates of evolution, especially when it comes to technology. We see, they call it Moore's law, or this sort of, instead of it doubling, it actually, this curvature of how things evolve, go at this exponential rate. And the Trinity has to do with a large part of that, because once you start moving into this sort of Trinity consciousness, the expansion happens so fast, and in how we operate. And we're seeing this in our technologies and blockchain technologies, and our ways of thinking, and our evolution, and where we're moving as far as being more, not in this pyramid structure sort of saying that we used to be in, but moving more into sort of everything sort of spread out, and we have access to everything simultaneously, information in the cloud, the internet. All of this stuff is no longer, we're no longer in this duality, slow evolution consciousness. So as a result of this, a lot of options are being given to us. We're going to be actually bombarded with different scenarios and options and choices, which is causing a lot of chaos for a lot of people. And I had some friends, actually, one of my friends reached out to me just before the meditation, and said he's losing it. He's like, I don't know what's happening. And he actually wanted to meet up, and I said, I'm in Atlanta, I can't meet up. He's in LA. But let me go meditate on this, and I'll see what I can get. And I tried to bring him into the meditation, but I wasn't getting him individually, but I was sort of getting this collective message, and conveyed that to him yesterday, and he said, yeah, it really helps. So basically, because of all of these options that everybody is receiving, we now have the choice to, we have many choices, much more than we had access to before, but we have within these choices, when we stand by these choices, when we sort of set, for example, okay, I'm going to be in integrity, I'm going to be in compassion, I'm going to be in love, then that is amplified and reverberated out into the cosmos to be reflected back so much more intensely. And then and if we choose not to be in that and sort of be scattered, it's going to be really easy to be scattered. So everything is just more intense,
Yes.
whichever way you look at it. Whether you're going to be scattered, you're going to be scattered in an intense way, or if you decide to, to make your decision and say, okay, this is me, and I don't care all of this noise that's happening around me. Ignore that. I'm going to be this. Then your actions will then be this reflection reality that, everything is a mirror and everything's a hologram being reflected back to us. Well, this is going to be reflected back to us much more intensely, quickly, and then thus giving us more available options related to that frequency. So that's sort of, this idea of the Trinity consciousness and how it affects us in our decision making and where we're moving. And it's just an affirmation to say, hey, no more beating around the bush of who you want to be, and if you're going to make whatever choices you make, they're going to be manifested very quickly, which is nice, and I think people are going to. Right now it's sort of chaotic, but as people sort of realize, hey, if I do good deeds, if I'm, in compassion and integrity in my actions, then I'm going to be rewarded for them. Rewarded in the sense of, I'll be attracting good things to me, and people will sort of figure that out quickly, because. And then they'll just do more of that, right? So because if you do the opposite, it's going to be reflected back to you. If you're not in integrity, if you're not in compassion, in empathy with your fellow beings, then that will be reflected back to you very quickly. So it's sort of like having a teacher with the stick and like, hey, no, don't do that, and people before could sort of like get away with doing a lot of mischievous, dishonest things, and nobody would really hit their hand, slap them in the hand, or whip them, and now the universe, I think, is going to get serious and start slapping people around a little bit.
Well, it's also, if I can interject there, to me, because I feel that energy too a lot, and for me, what I've started to really equate it to is that higher self. That, like I said, is maybe only like 10 years down the line, or there's something that we're moving into, and this individual knows where we're going to go, sees it all, knows how it's all planning out, and it's like, get on that, go that way, go, and more and more and more, the more that we just follow the messages and the instincts from the higher self, like you said, it all just aligns, all the frequency patterns really get solidified, and it's just off from there. And then there's the aspect that, like you said, there's going to be like, it's almost just like repercussions for the action of going in the other way. And our higher self is like bent and determined to get us. It's like not going to stop. It's going to hunt us down. And so, yeah, then there's going to be more and more and more kind of like universal repercussions, but it's the higher self trying to push and push and push to make sure that all these different lines go the way that we really want them to go. And it's so
because we
fun.
asked for it.
Right. Yeah.
You wanted this firm teacher. You would never observe or even be able to perceive it if you hadn't asked for it. So it's, on some level, obviously, how easily you can take this the wrong way.
Right.
But
in that teaching method, there's going to be, like I said, a lot of options to be mischievous, to do the I don't want to say wrong or right things, but to be uncentered from who you are. There's going to be a lot of things that show up and are showing up right now, especially to allow people to go off in another direction. But then at the same time, it's sort of like I don't want to say double-edged sword. I don't know if that's the right term, but because of the more options, it's gonna allow us to more quickly get into our true higher self, right? Even though that doesn't make sense, it's sort of like with all of these options being presented to us, we're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, but it's actually in reality, all of these options that are being presented are just there for us to say no to. If you know what I mean, to basically say, no, I know who I am. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. This is who I am.
I really recognize that. Yes. Yeah. Like or some people are. I can only speak for myself, but I also see it around me. Like you said, Reuben, it appears as if there is suddenly so many more possibilities. And because we are inviting ourselves from a higher self point of view to learn how to navigate through that more accurately, more consciously, we need to fine-tune our response mechanism. And so maybe a little bit more often, or a lot more often, we may have to say no or face some things that you think you wanted your whole life, but it's not exactly what you wanted, and then rediscover your real self and the reasons why you would say yes or no to something. I think self-reflection is really important in making decisions right now.
Exactly. Yes, that was one of the key parts of my downloads.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. Very much.
So it's cool. I like how we all are coming to similar similar conclusions with our downloads, reading the energy, and even though we're in different parts of the world.
It makes no difference.
Right. It's always fun to have the affirmation. So what I've gotten is if we truly have made this jump, this leap, then it's almost like there's no more time to bullshit, right? It's like
right.
we are making our decisions, we're saying who we are, and now we're in this exponential rate. If this, let's say that started from 2 days ago from the eclipse, then this correction of the train, so to say, or where we're headed collectively, it's going to straighten itself out quite quickly. Like when I say straighten itself out, go into a place where these energies of dishonesty, manipulation, fear, these energies aren't going to be able to survive very long in this new energy. They're still going to be there, and people are going to experience them and have their challenges and have to face all of this stuff. But they're going to have to face it really fast now and really quickly. and we're going to move through this, and get through this transition that we're in into understanding these new energies. And obviously we're always transitioning, it's never going to stop. But to get us into this new timeline where all of this bullshit that's been going on the planet for so long, individually and collectively, I've been going through a lot of bullshit my whole life, and I'm sort of like done with the bullshit. And I think,
same here.
Yeah, I think we're all like going that direction now. It's so cool.
Yeah, I know myself within the last few days. I work a regular restaurant job still, and I felt being in this new reality. Like I could feel the aftermath of the shift. And I've been experiencing a lot of mirrors lining up really, really instantly, and almost like like getting exactly the same understandings that you're explaining, Reuben, that you're sharing, but it's been like my full-on experience, and noticing so many rapid shifts because of all the connections and mirrors that I'm making. And so at my like regular restaurant job, these 20-year-old girls, these like full-on millennials with their pink iPhones and everything, shared with me that they have started to go down the rabbit hole of watching conspiracy videos and are into the channelings and stuff. Yeah. But are having a challenging time finding things that they really resonate with, and they're getting confused and they're getting kind of lost in the, all of the information sea that's out there. But these souls, to me, really feel like these kind of crystal souls, and they're perfectly tuned little instruments, and they're gonna know ding ding what resonates right away, and they're navigating watching stuff. And so one of my coworkers, I entered into a new version of this reality where this being was coming to me that was ready, and she's like, I have topics, I want to know about the actual origins of humanity and ancient aliens and the Anunnaki, like, can you make a video about that? I'm like, actually, yes, I can. I don't have all the whole story, but I can share where we are up to here in a way. And I felt that so deep in me. Like what you said, like there's no more time for the bullshit in a way, but it's also just so innately our joy and our mission and our passion, those of us in all of our different modalities. And we just feel it's time to really get out there and start sharing and spreading in our own unique ways. And it always has been, but now it's like really solidifying and coming together. And that's been neat for me the last couple of days, just to have this like really clear affirmation of like a different version of a being that was like ready, the kind of the next wave of how this information can come about and how we all together start really integrating it.
Yes.
Exactly. I think the fear, a big part of this is the fear is receding, therefore allowing people to have less judgment of other people's belief systems and ideas and concepts, and be more accepting. So, which is cool, because it's good to have a variety of different beliefs and ideas and be exposed to that and not have fear around it, so we can then listen openly to others. And I think that's a big part of moving forward in this reality, is to not have fear of, different religious beliefs or ideas, and everybody has a valid, belief system or idea, or, just because we're believing in aliens doesn't make us, evil devil worshippers. And if you're an evil devil worshiper, that's fine too. I just don't want to do that. You can go do that.
They might have their own definition of that. What's the Lucifer? Like, that's a whole different.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but we don't have to have the fear around that anymore, because we are now again more certain and more centered in who we are, knowing that they can have their beliefs and it's not going to affect me. I can have my beliefs and it's not going to, we're more in finding our center point of who we are, not getting so easily swayed this way or that way, with all of the stuff, with all of the, the fear that's been around it in the past.
I so love that. I fully agree, and I so love that you brought up conspiracy theory, which is something I really focus at all. But the days, like 2 days before the lunar eclipse and the day after, so now, a friend, actually several of my friends on Facebook started responding to a video that I shared, and to them, they saw a conspiracy theory in it. I had completely not ever seen that in there. So, and I'm like, okay, well, explain to me how you see it. I was really kind of like open-minded, curiously, like, okay, bring it on. And it became a really long sharing of thoughts and feelings. And I just love how they kept serving new varieties of fear. You could do this, and you could look at, and there's like no escape. And I'm like, yeah, that could very well be true, quote unquote, in your version of your reality, obviously. But I'm also, this is the beautiful thing, I was constantly aware of whatever they were offering me was another version of me also offering myself that. So I'm co-creating these people who are suggesting I look at something in such a quote unquote dark agenda kind of way. And the beauty was completely at ease. I could see the examples, hear the arguments, completely rationally follow along. Like, yeah, okay, we're probably capable of that as a human race, this kind of dark plan, which the word dark plan already makes me laugh. I mean, it just sounds like a stage play. And this whole, I'm so super aware of sometimes even the intonation of how something is being described by a person. You can just hear in the words, this is where I'm choosing to give my power away. This is where I'm choosing to give my power away. And it's almost funny. And I don't mean that in a denigrating way. It's just, I so love that a 3-day dialogue, and not once was I upset. And I actually really, my final conclusion was, which is, I love this conclusion. If all that is true, that what you guys are saying, if that manifests in my version of reality in the most horrible way that you have now been announcing could happen, then I am 100% convinced that I put that there for a really kick-ass reason. And I am saluting my higher self for bringing it to me in such a beautiful, dramatic way. If that actually happens, wow, I didn't know I had such a broad bandwidth of imagination. Like, look at me, look how cool that is, and look at how we are all co-creating such a beautifully dramatic scenario. And I just loved it. I'm like, yeah, if that happens, I'm gonna hug it to death. And, it's so beautiful if you look at stuff with such fierce passion for life, and just knowing that everything is gonna fit some way or another, and you can basically choose an optimistic point of view no matter what. It really is that, there's the amount of darkness you observe it's a part of you, and the bigger it feels, the more overwhelming it feels, the more you are trying to separate it from you. But if you see it, you created it, you put it there. So I just love that. I think it was so beautiful around the eclipse, because for me also it has a parallel with the moon turning all dark and then being, all white again. It's just the same moon, and we can be that way. We can be all dark and all light again. Obviously it's not my preference to focus on this so much as I did in the past few days, but it was actual fun, and I'm grateful for it. And I feel I've reached a whole new understanding towards the whole conspiracy world, and I can also see how it can very well function as a beautiful stepping stone to other kinds of self-awareness and self-research. And for a lot of people that's the entrance, because we are so trained in left-brain society. For a lot of people, this is where I think their spiritual journey begins, because first they're gonna reach out, they're gonna repeat the habit of looking for truth outside of themselves. So you're gonna question everything, which is a good thing. So I love all these people, and they sharing their points of view. I can see the validity in it, the beauty in it, how it may serve them on their journey, and how it helped me see where I am. I had to introduce that shadow in my life to get to know myself better in this moment, and it was beautiful timing. I really liked it. A good ride.
Well, my journey too into all this is, I call it, and I've seen this in a lot of people, I call it the conspiracy phase, where we all, many of us go through that phase to get to sort of the spirituality phase, or, you know, whatever phase you want to call this. I still have my conspiracy phases. You know, I'm a huge fan of Q. I don't know if you know the Q and the QAnon stuff that's going on. I love it, and it's like I get my popcorn every day, and I listen to my, you know, daily Q drops, and even though I know all of that is just a story, a show, you know, just another. Some of it's fear-based. Well, most of it's fear-based, but what I like about that story, and for those who are watching, definitely look into Q, because it's there's some dark stuff and that comes out of it, but yet it sort of offers a solution, and this is why I love, for me, in my conspiracy search, or the types of conspiracy ideas that I buy into, I only buy into the ones that I know that there's a solution, if that makes sense. Right. If you can sort of find, and then that way, and I can find the evidence for that in the ether or on the internet or whatever, and this is why I try to point people to Q, because then all of this other stuff that people get inundated with, you know, with the flat earth, or with the fear that comes around, you know, you know, North Korea, Iran, Pizzagate, all of this stuff is, all of this fear-based, you know, the Illuminati are going to take over, all of this crazy, the stock market's going to crash, or the you know, dollars aren't going to be worth anything, or, you know, cryptocurrencies are going to crash. You know, every day there's a new sort of fear-based, something bad's going to happen to the world. The big event's going to happen, right? Every time it's like this event, it's going to destroy society. And so all of these sort of ideas, I try to find the solutions in the ether, in the internets, or through other ideas or belief systems. And then that way, if I'm in a conversation with somebody who has a fear-based conspiracy theory, then I can say, well, actually, no, look at the evidence here. And I can sort of point them into a direction that's evidence-based, as opposed to just spiritual. Because a lot of people aren't, you know, spiritual in their belief systems. They need the physical. I need this to hang on to so I can see it, to prove it to me that this is real. So I find those, and I'm a big follower of solution-based conspiracy theories, I guess, if that's even a term, and then point people into that direction. So right now I'm a big fan of the Q stuff, because it sort of is a story that's saying, hey, look, this is the path we're on, and we're on a clear path of fixing all of these so-called problems that we have on the planet, if that makes sense.
Beautiful.
Gita, I see you nodding. Are you following Q at all?
I'm like chomping at the bit. Thank you, because I think this is an interesting topic for me, because this is the door that opened for me, like you said. It's what starts a lot of people, and there's so many great mirrors and permission slips that get reflected to us in regards to looking at all of these different storylines, because there's some that I do think are rooted in like the consensus reality monomyth that we are exploring, and there is benefit in seeing some of this really dark stuff and understanding some of the stuff that has been going on, so we can see the light and fully understand who and what we are. And for me, I know myself, because I've been really thinking about making this video, you know, for my peers, for my, you know, friends that want to see this type of information. How am I actually going to talk about this? And really relaying it back to the larger story of what you were saying, Wieteke, like we chose to do this. This is part of the greater story that has been created of what humanity and what Earth is. And as we're all I think going into, I don't know exactly what we're even shifted into, but this new phase of this this Trinity consciousness, like you said, moving out of this duality of being able to see, well, it goes this way or this way or this way or this way or this way. And we're really seeing then all of these parallel lines and potentials in a way of what we're all choosing collectively to write to be the story of like what history has actually been or what humanity has chosen. It's like we're choosing to write the monomyth in this now because we're wanting to make sure that we do this transition as smoothly as possible. Like I really feel all of our collective consciousness like working together. So as some of these more negative potential conspiracy or potential themes that have been happening, as more of these start to come out, because I do think it's part of it. It's going to be part of our evolution of certain aspects of people learning about certain aspects of what's been going on, and that's going to spark different initiations within an individual. But we're all making sure that we're going to do it as smoothly and with the least further amount of trauma possible. Like I feel that in my gut. And it's really beautiful. Then, like I said, it's all this fantastic permission slips to see all of these different like chord progressions or this note or this, all these different ways that we can structure it. And it's really fun for me to always try to take that positive side, like what you were saying, and relaying it back to the true story of what human is, in a way that it can be approachable. Like I don't necessarily go to like the factual side. Like I'm not, I'm always going to try and find the way to make it spiritual and approachable for everyone, connecting it back to love and heart and all, and most people are there where they're like, okay, oh, interesting. And they can find it because we made the choice to have this experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what you said. This making this transition with as little bumps as possible. That's been my vision, and as well. And and before I used to think, the only way we're gonna get through this is for a major crash, an event, a Planet X, or something that's going to, some sort of outside thing is gonna have to come in and just create major chaos for us to get through this transition. And now I'm of the belief system and ideas that not at all. This is gonna totally go so smooth that and now I have evidence and seeing actual physical things manifesting in the physical reality of how we are getting through this and going through this. So whenever anybody sort of says, comes to me with a conspiracy thing, or we're gonna hit World War III, the stock market is gonna crash, all of this, the whole economy is gonna tank, we're all gonna, all of these scenarios that people come up, I part of my fun, part of my daily popcorn and coffee is to look for the solutions in our physical reality, to then reflect back to those people to say, no, actually it doesn't have to happen this way, and let me tell you why. Because here's evidence that shows it's just going to be totally smooth. I mean, there may be a little bumps with people's belief systems and ideas and concepts, but as far as a physical manifestation of tidal waves and crazy, yes, there are, what's happening, it's already happening. We have volcanoes in Hawaii. We have, earthquakes. I was in a earthquake in Japan when I was there. The whole building's shaking. I'm like, oh, here we are. It's going to be fine, though.
Don't you believe, though, that since this earth is splitting in many ways, that all possibilities, of course, exist, so that those that kind of, let's say, cling to the belief that something big ought to happen are putting energy into that reality.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that reality very well may manifest for them.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way though that, because it's all about integration, it's all about us integrating all of these ideas and concepts. And so even the idea of the splitting of the two earths, I think, is almost it's
many more than two.
Right. It's a great metaphor, but a lot of people, I think, get hung up on that, thinking, oh my God, there's going to be this great big tearing of realities, and all the bad people are going to go over here and all the good people are going to go over here, and it's going to be catastrophic, you know. And as you guys just said, no, this is a very integrated experience where, you know, some people who might be focusing on, you know, the planet X or the big tidal waves coming, they very may well manifest that reality in the form of a localized flood or a volcano in their backyard. And then for them, yes, that is an actual, you know, planet X type event. Mm-hmm. But for the rest of us who aren't buying into those ideas and belief systems and sort of are on track for a very smooth transition, will experience the smooth transition. So this is, I think Bashard mentioned, you know, this kind of thing too, where literally you can have a tornado come through your backyard and it doesn't touch you, right. But it takes out 20 houses in your neighborhood. So that, and I think that's selective to the energy that you're putting out, you know, into this reality.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think.
I
was just gonna say, I think more experiences like that are gonna start to happen, whether it's a disaster or a flood, or maybe even as big as someone experiencing a war, and you're standing next to someone who's not. Well, that didn't happen on my Facebook feed today, you know, and what is that gonna do for our consciousness, and how is, depending on any given circumstance, individuals are going to start really having the awakening of what it means to be in where we are, that it's a universe. And I think more experiences like that are going to happen for people, because we need to have that experience to fully understand and fully bring in this fourth density consciousness and this dream consciousness. And we're going to kind of be having, I think things are going to get very really fun, but a little weirder, and have more things that are unexplainable happening to us as we really begin to awaken in the dream, you know, be like, oh, I'm dreaming, oh, now I'm still, oh, well, now I'm, you know, these loops and interesting reflections are going to start happening more and more and more for, I think, many people. I think that might actually start to be a really smooth way for people to start to kind of more Mandela effect-y stuff in the mainstream. I think is a really interesting, fun way to help accelerate consciousness.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that so fun again that you now mentioned Mandela. So I'm already starting to make notes now, because this is such an interesting conversation, and there's so many things to say about all of this. So about the smoothness, I wanted to just throw in there that, in a sense, even those that create for themselves into their experience the tornado, you know, like going for wherever they're living, the more bumpy in the road kind of experience, that is a really smooth manifestation too. I mean, we are all master manifestors. So in a sense, no matter what kind of movie you pick, you know, what kind of energy you pick in your experience of life, it is all smooth. There's a beauty. We are all really good at what we're doing. So if we are becoming more aware of what it is that we're doing, we get the movie that we prefer. But it's all smooth in a sense. I was just thinking that. And
yeah, thank you for that. Yeah,
right. It's all flawless in that sense. Yeah. It's all a perfect reality.
No matter how bumpy or
You mentioned this waking dream. So last night I had a lucid dream. I don't have them. I'm having them more often now, but I don't have them that often. And it's part of my practice, my dream practice, that I'm setting the intention to have more. But it was great before this call. So I in the dream, the first thing you become lucid and you're like, I'm lucid, yes, I'm dreaming, this is great, right? And there's this excitement that happens through that situation, and then immediately, and I did this in past lucid dreams, immediately I start trying to hyper focus on everything in the dream. and I'm trying to look at people's faces and looking at the situations, and I'm like, this is all a dream. This is so cool. This is so cool, you know? And then I was like, I can ask anything, right? I can ask. And because I remember I'm reading books about lucid dreaming, and I'm like, I can just look up at the sky and ask a question and I'll get the answer. So I was just like, okay. And I don't remember what I asked. But I think it was just like, here it is. I can ask anything and I'll get the answer because I'm lucid. Yay! You know, and just going back to this waking dream, if we, it sort of is like that, I think, for us who are waking up to the fact that we are in the dream, that we are now able to focus in on the details of things and see them for what they really are, as opposed to the illusion that they're being presented to us. There's more information, there's more details, and there's more the archetypes, you know, that come to us in our day-to-day lives, and the people and the situations that present themselves. We can see them through a different set of eyes, and we can ask questions in this waking dream, just like in the lucid dream, and get the answers. You know, we don't have to just go along the journey, so to say. You know,
like we're just speaking to yourself.
Right. We're more we're not just, we're driving the ship a little bit more, you know what I mean? We're a little more in control. We're still on the journey. We're still in the ride, but now that we're lucid, so to say, we can sort of steer the ship a little bit better.
Yeah.
That reminds me, that actually takes me back to what you said earlier, Wieteke, about this being a new time of really responding. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really how we're able to hone that manifestor control, like that we are. Those of us that have kind of maybe been at this for a little bit longer, that are really all moving together to kind of bring the next wave. I think so many of us have really, truly found that power of knowing how to respond. And it's through that slowing down, like it's something that Bella guides a lot of people through in our sessions, really grounding and honing our signature frequency, our vibration, and how it is really just, I mean, it's incredible and it moves rapidly fast, and that's really what we're all stepping into now, is really learning how to slow down that relay process of the higher self into the mind to then take the next action, and becoming that response. And it's through that we're gaining this level of mastery and control.
Yay.
In the dream.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're slowing the knee-jerk reactions are starting to dissipate.
Yeah, because you know yourself, you know your energy frequency, and you can be faithful to it in a sense in your response. And you know what's so beautiful about the ABC thing, or I kind of already said what I was going to say. So you said AB. So you have these two. So you have seeming polarity, right? So it's point A and point B. So in order to be aware of both of them, you need this third point. So you need a third point to see both at the same time. So this is what I think we are beginning to integrate and become, really embody, is this third point of view, which is the C. It's C. You see A and B. It's the third is the C for that reason. It's the completion. It's the overview. And this is what I noticed in this whole conspiracy dialogue that I had. And I was also like, immediately for every response, making up solutions, like this could lead to that, which is a positive, this could lead to that, which is a positive, and they're like, no, but in the past it went wrong too. And I'm like, no, it helped us learn something back then that by now we don't have to repeat that. We are different versions of ourselves now. So you could choose to be afraid for whatever happened in the past forever, but we don't even know what the future is going to be like. We have no idea what we are capable of right now. We're learning to work with an entirely new set of tools. And I, for one, am super curious to see where this is going to go. I mean, I think we have only just begun exploring this new age. We have just begun.
Oh,
Yeah, it just started the other day.
yes.
This new Trinity.
Yeah, and
Just now.
Just now.
just a synchronicity too. My imagination reminds me of the letter A. Then that was left over.
Yes.
June was sharing, like, this is where we are. So just the way that the A is set, so then you've got the, you know, the seemingly polarity and then the middle point and where it all like goes from there. How the letter A, yeah.
The A is the triangle of the
Right.
the leftover A.
It is.
Pandora. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made this just right now reminds me of a drawing I made in art school, and I don't know why I made it because we didn't have an assignment or anything. I made this landscape full of big A's, and they are blooming. So from the top of the A's, there's big flowers growing. And I'm thinking, wow, maybe this is about, like, right now. Now I look at this drawing in my mind, thinking of what we all just said. Maybe we're gonna see the blossoming, or, you know, the blooming of an age where we really finally sounds a little bit maybe like I'm in a hurry, but I'm not. But where we are gonna get it, because right now is of course the most exciting place to be ever. And but also A is like like being in awe, like, or aha, I finally get it. I really like it. Yeah.
Speaking of time, one of the other downloads I got, I kept saying this out loud, was it's perfect time. It's the only time is now, which is perfect time, because now is perfect. And I don't know, I just kept going in this cycle of perfect time. It's perfect time. So we should relabel time, because the only true real time is now. Everything else is just an illusion, and now is perfect. So we should really call time perfect time.
Have you guys been feeling this too? That when people speak about anything and they're connecting it to the past, or the past proves that blah blah blah, do you feel like somehow that's not arriving at you anymore? Because I'm getting that a lot lately. Like, the past is, you know.
The past doesn't exist.
I feel that, and in some dialogues it is really awkward. Like, you have to find this new position in yourself when you see that to continue to stay in that dialogue. Do you know what I mean? Are you guys feeling that too?
Yeah, like I can. It's almost more of a sensation for me. It's like their logic in a way just seems faulty, but in their perspective, like, this is my past, like, and this is what I know to be true. But to me, I'm like, well, you're not working, okay. And I spend a lot of time being very, very responsive and more grounding when I'm talking with people that are coming from a very different belief structure. And yeah, I have noticed that, and it's actually served as a really beautiful tool and teacher for me, that sensation of feeling really timey-wimey, really kind of loosey. I'm like, okay, I am like a version of the Doctor. How do I help humans in this scene? And and it activates within me, which I think a lot of us are in this phase of stepping maybe more so into our ambassadorship, or trying to, you know, open the door but not push our beliefs on people, not feel as though we're teaching them, judging them. I keep moving my body like this because that's what it feels like in me. I really become very kind of like almost like a cat. Like, I'm like hyper aware of like what the next thing that's going to come through, because I've gotten really centered and really trust myself at this point in my evolution of who I am, that exactly what needs to come through will come through, and I can explain any idea or concept or whatever story or meet them kind of where they are. But I am experiencing that, Wieteke, and it feels like it's like a sensation to me. It puts me in like almost like a vortex.
Yes, it's like you're looking at different film strips piled together, and all the possibilities are right in front of you, and you're looking that person in the face, and you're like, it's so easy for me to just look beyond all the storyline things, whatever we're talking about, and just see, oh, but that's your light, and you're such a beautiful light, and that's always there, and you're just choosing to shine it rigidly through this one film strip right now. That's okay, that's your free choice. I mean, I still do that on many topics, I'm sure, but in that moment, it's so nice to see that, and I kind of feel wonder, and there's no judgment. It's just like, wow, we can do that with so much strength. That is amazing. But you also have to honor that. I see that, because we all do have to honor our own and each other's belief systems, because that is how we create reality flawlessly and smoothly. But for them, so in that moment, that's full on reality, and it's such a wonderful and beautiful exploration to see how you're going to respond to that and adjust yourself to that storyline. And this is where I love, you can come from the third point and see, okay, if this is your true A and this is the B that I'm looking from, they're both valid. This is both real. And there's always a way in between, or to dance or play with it. And if somebody really doesn't want that, then it's really important also to, okay, that's okay. I see how, if I would push any idea any further, that would not be respect coming from me towards that person. There is a point where you can feel, let go.
I know, especially for me at this point, after being in the channeling state, I know what it feels like when it's almost like they're pulling on the reins. They're like, no, that's okay.
Right.
Like, whoa, horse. I get that feeling when I'm
doing the same. They're very clear in that.
Yeah,
super clear.
Absolutely. There's walls. Nope, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here. Nope, yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why the power of metaphor is so important, and I know a lot of the channelers and a lot of the channel information that comes through gives us metaphors to work with, because then it sort of offers a neutral point for the person who receives the metaphor to then ponder and think and then interpret that metaphor for them, to come up with their own concept or idea of how that works. So it's kind of like, instead of telling them what the answer is, it's like, here's a metaphor to ponder on, and in that you'll find the answer yourself. And so one of the metaphors this, what we were just saying with the duality consciousness, I will just label it that for now, where this old paradigm of past, because of the past this happened this way, then that means this is the way it's going to happen. That's the duality, I'd say, duality consciousness of being stuck in that paradigm. So the metaphor I give is, again, the 1 + 1 = 3 metaphor, where there's no way, like for time travelers, when you go back in time to visit yourself, you're creating a third new timeline that didn't exist in the past. Otherwise, the past version of you would have experienced the future version of you, but it did not. Yeah. So therefore, a new timeline is created of the future now version of you visiting your old past self, creating a third timeline where the past and future version of yourself now go into a completely different timeline. So you give that people to think about, and they're like, oh, okay, so that means we're not repeating the same things. We're integrating the old information, creating new timelines, new information, new ways of doing things that aren't going to repeat themselves, because it's physics, it's impossible to repeat yourself.
It's happening.
Exactly, yeah, that's what Arjun says. It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
You can create the illusion and go back and revisit things that are like the past, but yet it's a new version of you experiencing yourself like the past, as opposed to being the past.
Are you not in awe with how good we are at that? We are so good at pretending that stuff is repeating itself. It's amazing.
Well, and sometimes it takes some of us more times of the same kind of thing to get the lesson so we can move on to the next
Yeah.
thing.
But all along the way, it is still progress. It is still evolution. So that it's never in vain. That is so beautiful.
Right. Exactly. So remind those people of those of physics and how it can't we can't repeat ourselves.
But it's so fun too, because well channeled, by the way, Reuben. It's a challenging thing to explain. It's almost like a little riddle to get that out. And it's different than what we've been trained to think how it works. And so it is such a fun kind of riddle, such a fun kind of, little metaphor, kind of jokestery kind of way of explaining it. But when someone can actually, like, when you run it through, you're like, huh. Oh.
Well, I
Yeah,
explained 1 + 1
physics
= 3 to a 6-year-old,
Yeah.
and she got it just like that. She's like,
Yeah.
oh. She's like, well, no, in school they tell us 2, and I'm like, no, and I drew a little diagram, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah.
So good. It's so good. Yeah, that's where we are. That's this new, like you said, this new Trinity consciousness, or moving out of this duality. We have no, like you said, we have no idea exactly where it's all gonna go. It's just so exciting. It's so exciting to be here.
Thanks, guys. Great conversation. It seems like we're in this new paradigm moving forward, and really looking forward to having more conversations with you guys and talking. Hopefully we can get some talk about the Yahyel a little bit more. This was more sort of like the downloads that have been coming through these past few days. But yeah, if you want to add on and say goodbye for the moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for setting this up, this triangle, this pyramid, and the two of you for sharing the ahas. And yeah, I'm looking forward to co-create more in the future. This has been great fun. Absolutely.
I'm so stoked. I'm just so grateful and thankful that this is a reflection of where we all are collectively. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where we all go, and for us to be the vehicles of permission slips and the channels for more and more and more and more collective storytelling. So,
Yay.
Sweet.
guys, yeah.
All right. Until next time. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.